Hello, adventurers, and welcome to another episode of Wonders and Blunders. Those of you who are keen with things such as times and dates and knowing what week it is in this cursed year of 2024 may have noticed that we're a little bit late on this episode. I apologize for that. It was completely my fault. I was traveling, jet-setting, as some might say. As many of you know, I too have a private jet that no one is allowed to get mad at me for owning. That's a Taylor Swift reference. I know culture. Before we get into today's episode, I have to thank a group of highly cultured individuals, our patrons. And what better gift to give you this week than to assign groups of you with holiday destinations from the world of Fadoon. Al White, GS Troop 969, Skylar Flowers, Ryland Command, and Chris Ice. Why not visit the Iron Isle, a floating humanoid-made structure in the center of the channels? This trade post has everything. A terrifying view of endless horizon in every direction, a seemingly endless cast of seafaring ne'er-do-wells, and it certainly has not been invaded by any chaos gods or slods. Dylan Pilgrim, Hudson Miles, Christopher Dunn, Ian Ford, Gullah Tice, and Matthew Smets. Why not get away from the winter blues in Camillenshire, just north of Lake Secret and Scale Bay? Camillenshire is literally built from the bones of fallen dragons. Pick one up like a breach rock and take it home as a souvenir. I don't think anything could go wrong with that action. Miri Rain, Michael Pollard, Jason Campbell, Michelle White, and Noreen Elizabeth. Why don't you head into the Hissing Vale and visit Maplehide? If shifting jungles are your thing, and you don't mind a bite or two from various venomous creatures, Maplehide is a fantastic getaway. No one will ever find you. And finally, Robert Andrews, David Forsey, Cheryl N., Chelsea Dabb, and Shell Scott. I recommend you visit Stack and Keep. Take the long road inland from the Broken Coast and visit this nigh impenetrable fortress. Surrounded by the cursed mountains of Patal Barak, you'll enjoy reading your book by lightning light and be lulled off to a restless slumber by the cries of unknowable beasts in the dark. I hope you all enjoy those journeys, and thank you again for your patronage. Now, on to today's episode. Okay, so everybody has gone to bed after everyone had a fairly eventful day. My intention of going into downtime thwarted yet again by myself and you all being too fun to play out every single second in real time. This is a promising start to season 2, being a crisp 35 episodes.
Did anybody really believe that, though? I mean,
somewhere in my deep within, in the voice that I push down every
possibly the sponsors.
You just misplaced the decimal again.
yeah, that's okay.
Will they be disappointed? No, not unless we're seriously delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never happens, though, so we are A-okay.
So those of you who made it home, you wake up in the house, and it feels a little less angry than usual. And everybody can mark their reputation with the house at -3.
Does the house have a name?
The house does not have a name yet. The deed has the address, and then in brackets, Terry's place.
I'll just call it house for now.
But yeah, you are now the owners, so you can feel free to name it as you wish. But yeah, for some reason, this morning the house seems a little less adversarial. As you slowly wake up, still now caked in the smell of burnt turnips. The entire house has been coated in turnip smoke.
Gonna take a lot of prestidigitation to get that out.
Yeah.
Couple barrels of vinegar.
Valen's never had to work this hard in his life.
That's true.
But you do wake up one by one, so how would you like to get your morning started? You have a meeting today at 2 p.m. at Danny's with Kid Resistance.
Good morning, Tadpole. How are you today?
Oh, you... yes, I'm doing fine, Kara. A fitful sleep, but, yes, a lot to think about. How are you?
I'm fine. Your friend, do you think we need to work on finding her right away?
Well, the gala, or whatever the event was, it's not until next week, so, we've got a bit of time. I suppose maybe we'll want to, bring the others up to speed and see if they'd like to help.
I don't think I've ever been to a gala. What sort of situation is it?
Well, it's a bunch of socialites, the elites, sort of rubbing elbows and trying to impress each other and pretend to make friends and secure backroom deals for new contracts and arrangements and influence those in government. The food is very good, though.
Oh, well, that might be nice then. I'm sure Bree will enjoy it. Where is Bree?
I haven't seen her.
Not at home.
Not ominous.
I was thinking what we could do is, like, if you wanted to give, like, a montage kind of thing of how you think Bree got from partying at the nightclub to this situation. Like, if there were any, like, little scene vignettes or something you think, like, throughout the night.
So, I mean, I imagine this is the first kind of time that Bree has really, like, gotten drunk with the group, but it's not the first time Bree has gotten drunk. So there would have definitely been a moment in the bar where she is explaining having eaten this like fruit before on an island back home that they used to. All of her brothers and sisters, they would eat this fruit. They would have a really good time, then they would end up in a big fight, and then they would black out and like wake up the next morning just like surrounded by basically all this fermented fruit. Not that they understood how fermentation worked, but that's what it would be. So I definitely think there would be a long montage of them having like a blast in this place before it kind of getting out of control, and maybe Bree getting getting to be not an angry drunk, but like really like teasing and trying to pick fights with people and not realizing that she is way too big to do that to regular people. So probably getting politely escorted out of the bar. Perhaps there is a moment in the above ground night market of her attacking some random civilians in the dark, but them not really ever quite seeing exactly what it is coming at them, just like this massive claws and teeth from the shadows.
Yeah, and I think at this point, word is spreading that some terrible clawed creature clawed its way out of a pipe earlier that night. So
yes,
I think that like spreads through town like wildfire that there is this creature in the night stalking people.
Yeah, and so I think Bree kind of gets hungry and goes looking for someone to eat. But is like just too intoxicated to be like she is of no danger to anybody in this state, and it's a real wacky, like she's trying to chase after someone, she knocks over a tent pole, ends up like wrapped in a bunch of cloth, the ticks come running by, but she just looks like an old babushka by accident, and they're just like ma'am, and keep going off, and then definitely it's like the blackout hits kind of after that fact.
Okay, yeah. I think the last thing you remember is like smelling a lot of food. So in Mox the Rain, there are like lots of churches to lots of gods, but one of them in particular is the Church of Zilchus. And so for one of Zilchus's deals is Zilchus is the god of trade and wealth, but not the god of greed. So all of that wealth is meant to uplift communities.
Okay.
So they often, and I think you remember this from seeing the Church to Zilchus in the Sunken Church, is they have big outdoor banquet halls, basically, for people who are struggling. So this is an active market of Zilchus. So there have been people just setting up food outside for those who are struggling and need a meal.
Right.
So I think that smell might have been the last thing that you smelled before completely blacking out. And slowly you wake up to a very strange, like, potent smell of incense. And you are, like, crammed into this dark, confined space.
Okay.
Like, looking down, I think your, like, babushka rags of the night before are now looking like these fairly tight clerical robes. And there is even, like, I think you're, like, snuggled up like you might with a weapon at night, but it is just, like, a big clerical staff.
Okay.
And you're inside a little confession booth inside the Church of Zilchus. And you can see that there's a screen on your side that is kind of obscuring your vision of anyone who might be sitting on the other side. And I think what wakes you up is you just hear, hello?
Hello?
Oh, sorry, I just, I don't really know the process for all of this. I'm fairly new. I just have a great guilt hanging heavy on me. Is this the right place to admit some guilt?
I mean, this has happened before. I don't remember all of it.
Oh, well, I assure you, I've never been here before.
Oh, well, I do not think I have been here in this exact situation, but, okay. Who are you?
Oh, I thought this was supposed to be anonymous.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't tell anyone anyway. Just make like a flat charisma.
Okay.
I won't give you disadvantage because I think your charisma is hungover
That
enough.
is a 7 minus 1, 6.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, so he doesn't give you his name. But through the partition, you can get like little details just on their like silhouette. I think like looking through the other way, they wouldn't be able to see anything because you take up like every inch of the other side of this box. But you see this person is also hunched in. They're quite large. You can see that there are protrusions of like very long tusks that almost curve back towards the face.
Okay.
And they're sitting kind of hunched. And he says, yes, I have a great guilt hanging heavy on me, and I don't know what I want, if just to tell someone, or perhaps if you give advice. Myself and some others who are close with me, we've started something really great for this city. And we're meant to look out for one another, but I'm afraid at this point that I might be being used or deceived. And I don't like to question the trust of my family or to break the trust of my family. But I'm tempted to involve outsiders in our affairs to gauge how loyal my family is being to me.
Well, in family, it is important to prove oneself. Those who are strongest in family rise to top, and those who are weak, they help and serve the others.
Yes, I agree, and I was raised with similar principles, but I'm afraid that the last ruler of this city ruled in this way, and the people were unhappy, and we rose up to combat that. But I don't know. Is it wrong to work against your family if you think it will make all of you stronger in the end?
No, of course not. There is many people in many families who are not useless, but they are lesser beings. If you are better and smarter and stronger, then it is not a problem to put them in their place. It is how family learns.
Yes. You're right. I shouldn't feel bad about this. I am strengthening us all, and those who would stand against that strength shouldn't be with us.
It is only natural. The strongest always survive.
I was quite nervous about this, but thank you. I really feel this insight is... I feel a great weight lifted off of me.
I am glad, but remember that weight is powerful thing. It's not bad to be heavy and burdened.
Yes, that is true. And all leaders are burdened. It's part of the job. I'll hold my head as high as I can under this weight.
It's good. Work for it and help your family in best way you can.
Thank you. Thank you. And you see on the other side, he puts a hood up over his head and opens the door on the other side. You see like light now streaming through the partition. And you see that there are silhouettes of others standing and waiting outside of this box. And they sort of like reach in and help this person up. And I'll be sure that the church receives a generous donation for this advice.
Okay.
And he kind of chuckles, and then the door closes. And you hear like footsteps walking away.
Okay. These people outside were just like helping him, escorting him.
Yeah, like bodyguards,
okay.
it seems.
Oh
Yeah.
God, Bree got really worried for a second. There was a line up to see her. Yeah, I think Bree would kind of wait probably a minute for the noise to die down, and then just start like rotating around in the booth, trying to figure out like, okay, if that guy had a door on that side, maybe I have a door on this side.
Yeah, and I think like even as you move, like some of your scales hook on the doorknob, just the little latch keeping it closed, and it opens, and you kind of tumble out.
Yeah. And sorry, am I wearing still the tent flaps, or am I wearing a clerical robe?
You're wearing a clerical robe, and you have a clerical staff.
Okay.
With kind of a, it's just like a fairly simple staff, but the head of it looks like a big gold coin.
I think Bree definitely sees that, and like her eyes light up for a moment, and she is like, this is a temple to strengthening oneself, to protecting oneself. It is very shiny. As she looks around, but then I guess are there other people still in this church, like in the distance?
You can see a couple of clerics like milling around. You now like, yeah, and looking around the church, it is grand. Like it is like quite high ceilings, lots of like golden pillars, stained glass showing images of like great wealth of people handing out money, handing out food, and communities sitting and eating together. And tracing the smell of the incense back, you can see that there are a bunch of clerics moving around, and they're like placing pamphlets in pews. And it seems like they're preparing for a service.
Okay. Yeah, Bree not really knowing what that is, I wouldn't really think. I think she just kind of like throws the hood up on the robe and tries to like keep her head down and quickly shuffle out of the church through whatever like the closest door she can find.
Okay, do you give me a stealth?
Do I have advantage? Oh no, okay, never mind.
Just with the wolf cloak, yeah.
Not bad though, 16.
16? Okay, I'm gonna just roll a perception. As you do, like as you're making your way out, you see that there is a cleric who has like stepped into the room and is kind of looking around a little bit panicked. And as you are like reaching for the doorknob, you just hear, oh, there you are. Oh, thank goodness, the service is about to start. And running up behind you is this gnomish cleric looking like right up at you. You must be Gaia.
You might have me mistaken.
Well, I know all of our clerics. You could only be the visiting Gaia Copperpot, correct? We have... She never showed up this morning. Or you didn't. You're quite late.
Oh, I apologize. My stomach is not good.
Oh, well, we can do something about that. We have many herbs or magic to straighten you up, but the talk is starting quite soon. There are merchants lined up around the block waiting to hear your advice. They're struggling greatly, and I think your insights could be quite helpful to them.
I have.
And like as you've kind of cracked the door a little bit, you can see outside that there is a lineup of people waiting to get into the church. And yeah, it's just like families and all of these people holding on to like little bits of their trade. Like you see like a fishmonger with like a big fish standing out there and stuff, and they seem to be giving these donations at the door to the feast outside. And starting to file in.
You mean all these people are coming and giving gold and fish just to hear talk?
Yes, they're struggling greatly, and well, you've been quite successful, and Zilchus smiles on your actions, so well, they're wondering how they can better themselves.
I do not know that I can be of much help to these people. What if I am not what they think I really am?
Oh, I am humbled to hear that you could possibly have reservations about your greatness. I mean, your talks are world-renowned.
Oh... Well,
we have waited some time. I know Mox Thorane is quite out of your way and not always a difficult place for someone who prefers the solitude of the mountains as you do, but...
I have been in mountains for a very long time, away from peoples.
Well, I mean, anything. They would be happy for anything. Any nugget of knowledge that you could pass on.
Okay, I will, give speech, I guess.
And he nods.
I think Bree
happily.
kind of like looks to the staff and this big gold coin in the staff that just like catches some of the sun coming in through the crack in the door and just like gleans off of it, and takes it as a sign.
Yeah. So I think like you'll have a few minutes as people are sort of piling in at this point.
wow.
You can see like even as you've been talking, people have been coming in and sitting in the seats.
Can
You
Can I
see-
make a
oh,
wisdom check to try and remember what I did with Gaia?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Oh, that is a 6.
A 6. Okay. You are worryingly full.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I think that is like that with a 6, I think that is like the thing that's on your mind the most right now is that you didn't wake up hungry.
That is strangely enough not worrying.
Right.
The biggest worry is that she would show up, but if I think that might be the case, then okay.
So you've got a couple of minutes. You get brought into kind of a back room, and you can see that it is behind some stained glass, which seems to be enchanted. So from one side, no one can see in, but you can see out.
Cool.
And they sort of sit you down. There's a bunch of like teas and some food. And he says, well, if your stomach is still upset, then we have ginger. We have ginger teas. I can also, if you are feeling a little under the weather, perhaps magic isn't coming to you as quickly as usual. But if you'd like, I could spruce you up.
I do. Magics have been helpful in past. I have a friend who has often made smells go good. I will trust in your magics. She says, kind of like sniffing the tea and being like, what is this?
Okay. So I think, yeah, so he lights a couple of candles and lights some incense. And as you are sort of sitting there, he, over a couple of minutes, casts a little ritual and gives you a blessing of Zilchis.
Ooh.
So you will have advantage on wisdom and charisma-based checks
Okay, good. I'm going to need that.
for the next 24 hours.
Cool.
And it is also like a restoration. So it just kind of like
The hangover fades.
yeah, you feel a lot more sprightly and clear-headed.
Yeah, I think Bree kind of leans back and blinks a few times and goes like, oh, that is much better. What is that spell?
This is a blessing from our god, Zilchis. He smiles on us today.
It would seem a great blessing, a good sign.
Oh well, I appreciate it. I'm and he's like blushing now. And says, I'll leave you to get in the headspace. If there's anything else that you need, just knock. I'll be right outside.
Okay, I think I am good.
Okay. So he goes out and he starts hyping up the crowd. So like through the stained glass, you can see him moving back and forth. And it's like, this is not like a church service. This is a very like Tony Robinson,
Oh my god. Okay, yeah.
like pep talk that is being given out here right now. And he's saying like, all of you have struggled greatly, but you do so much for this city. All of you stepping out every day and trying to build yourself up, picking yourself up by your bootstraps, and anything is possible under Zilchis's watchful eye. All of this gold builds your community and your families, and you, each of you, are heroes for attempting to take on this noble stride. Things are not always easy, and I know that these difficulties can make you want to quit, but you should not. And don't take my word for it. We have the person that you've all come to see today, the extremely prestigious Gaia Copperpot herself, and people like a hum moves over the crowd as people just like excitedly talk to one another. You can see they're all reading these little pamphlets. And
Are
so
there,
he's
are there
going
any
to
of
keep.
those pamphlets like in the back room that I can look at to be like, who is this person?
Yes, yeah, and you can see that like the picture that has been drawn on the front, you can see why it is possible that you have been mistaken for this person, because the cloak is up, obscuring any features, and they are just holding out their hands in front of them. On their back is the same staff you're holding in your hand. And they are holding out their hands, and both of their hands seem to be just like overflowing with gold and jewels.
Okay. Yeah, I think Bree on this would probably like make sure that like the big chain that she has of the giant runes, like the necklace and stuff are out, and like maybe the sleeves are rolled up a little bit just to show the bangles. And all like the ostentatious bling that she has acquired through her plundering is present, but that like her hood is up and masking her as much as possible.
Okay. So it's up to you how much you want to do this. If you want to go if you want to roll now to kind of see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that, because I could definitely sync this for sure. Is this a performance?
So I'll kind of leave it up to you, like how you want to approach this.
Can I make it
if
insight check? Because that's actually something Bree is good at.
Insight? Yeah, like watching the crowd and kind of just like as you approach topics, you can sort of see how they're reacting to them.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And so that's wisdom, so I get an advantage with the blessing.
Yes, that's right.
That is a dirty 20.
Okay.
15 plus 5. The idea is that there's one thing that Bree, in terms of insight, Bree is able to understand body language very, very well of other creatures, from hunting them and for trying to tell if it's prey or predator. So I think she's able to kind of have a good sense of what someone is feeling without them necessarily saying it, is kind of the idea.
Okay. So, I think this goes well. This goes quite well. So, I'll leave it up to you if you want to, if you want to go through, a montage of just, generally what happens, but also if you want to, take some time and figure out what Bree says, I will totally, leave that up to you. You don't have to, fly into this, but if you want to just, do it on the seat of your pants, you totally can.
Well. There's no way I can riff off a 30-minute lecture here on on the values of gold and stuff. But I definitely think there'd be a few kind of montages that Bree would hit. Bree would echo a lot of Yuri's things that Yuri has said to her over the years about how gold can kind of be the truest ally and a great defender, and that it's always worth kind of chasing after, but how it really makes the greatest armor of all and can harden our way through any problems, protect your family and everything. She'd probably give reference to this person she talked to this morning who was wondering about how to best protect their family, and saying that, echoing this idea that the strongest people will survive, that those of you who protect your family and know the things to do will rise to the top, and clearly you are here because you look to protect your family, you see the value in these things, and the value in gold and whatnot. She would also echo a few things that Valen has told her over the years, about kind of how to put trust in other people as well, and trust into people that you don't always know. Some of the stories that she was told by the dragon turtle that she rode across to the deserts on way back when, before the mountains, before the snow, that turtle taught her a lot about how, one of the big sentiments that she had was that people can be useful, humans can be trusted, and at the very least they're always food. And I think that she would probably say exactly that, and then try to stumble back on it and be but food for the soul, there's always lessons to learn from other people.
I think this gnomish cleric is out with you too, assisting with those things. Whenever the people kind of reel back, he's like, "Do you mean food in that they nourish us, right? They help us grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that like I think that's like the general speech. So I'm gonna make this like a little bit of a skill challenge. So I think that like first part of the speech goes very well, and as you watch the body language of the crowd, you're able to sort of like skirt around the things that are making them uncomfortable or question you. But for the most part, everyone who is watching is like they've begun like writing on the back of their pamphlets, and you have them off the top. So I would say the next thing is to kind of close out the speech.
I mean, would there be kind of like a Q&A, like what ails you? What are the problems of the crowd? These people all came here with their own problems. Could I do something like a medicine check to try and provide like natural advice on how to fix their issues?
Yes, so I think a medicine check is going to be like leaving the pulpit and going out into the crowd.
Okay.
So yeah, you could make a medicine check on that.
That is a 24. 19.
24, okay. Nice. So I think like one of the people you see like this the fishmonger from out front, and they are just like sunken cheeks. Their eyes are sort of sunken into their head, even though they're wide as they're like watching you down there. And you can see that they're just like incredibly malnourished. And I think with the like good insight before, you've seen the food that they were carrying around. Like clearly they have plentiful access to food, but have been maybe like sinking too much of that food into their business and not enough into themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, Bree would definitely be like try to preach the idea of like, you have to look after yourself first, because if you're too weak, you can't protect your family, you can't protect your community. Give your excess away, but like, you know, do not let yourself go to skin and bones to these people.
Yeah, and he like immediately the gnomish cleric like runs outside to the feasting area and like comes back in with like a big cooked fish that had been prepared from his work, and like people are just chanting like eat and like big and strong as he just like, it's the scene from Matilda where he's eating the cake, except he's just eating this full fish to himself.
Oh my god, yes. Pop it in and all bones come out.
Yeah. So I think, and with that, I think the people are just, they're rushing to you now. Like people have left their seats and all of them are like running up next to you as you kind of like diagnose little like problems, mostly on like the physical side.
Yeah, and most of them are solved by just eating more food.
Right.
Like, or eating specific types of food as well, I think, because Bree would know a lot of like, I mean, all of her medicine comes from literally just eating different types of berries and herbs and stuff like that in the jungles. So she'd probably mention a few things that she doesn't know like the common name for any of these things. So again, I imagine the gnome being like, "Oh, you must be talking about Hollandiferous precarious or whatever."
Right.
And probably me not even being remotely referencing that one thing, but that being what the actual cure for this ill is.
Right. So I think like how long would you stick around? Like everyone here wants to talk to you.
Not super long, because Bree is all like, Bree was not for this plan when it started, and I think after answering like a handful of different questions, like 4 or 5 different questions, I think she would look at the gnome being like, starting to, I think, kind of get flashbacks of just like a crowd of people rushing her. I think triggers a bit of the idea of being hunted again, and looked for. And so I think she would kind of.
So how do you get out of this?
Look to the gnome to be like, can we get out of here, sort of thing. Like just make like a little motion back to the stained glass or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And the gnome is like enthralled just with what is happening around and like the reaction that the people are getting. Like looking at him, you can tell that this has gone better than he ever could have imagined. So he is like looking at you and he says, "Oh, yes. Please, everyone. Thank you so much for your enthusiastic participation." But he is getting completely drowned out by the crowd. So he's going to assist you in some way, but he cannot speak loud enough to like control the room. They're like they've been thrown into just like a motivated frenzy at this point, and are just like crushing in around you on all sides now.
Well, I don't want to solve this with muscles. Could I make like a perception check to try and find a section of the crowd that seems... Because, I mean, Bree is definitely heads above everyone in this crowd at her size. So could I use perception to kind of like navigate through the crowd where there might be like a bit of an opening that leads us to even like a door or like a back room? I think like any exit out of the crowd that she thinks she could take somewhat safely, as she kind of keeps answering questions as she goes, but tries to navigate towards an exit.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Ooh, thank God for that blessing. That is a 15 plus 5, 20. There's a crit fail on the other
20,
dice,
okay.
So.
So I think it's like pivots. It's like 5-foot steps as you like maneuver around. Like it's a very, like you're in kind of a battle stance at this point, even though you're like answering questions, your head like whipping back and forth looking for openings as you just like shimmy and slither
She's kind
your
of
way
using her
through
tail
the
as
crowd.
like a guard brace to keep people from getting too close on one side while she's turned.
Yeah, and so like people are still following you, but the gnome runs up and like opens the door in front of you, and just says, "Please, whenever you have a moment, do come back. But they're in a frenzy. You escape if you must. You've done more than we could have ever asked
I will
for."
try to return as soon as I can. Zilt is... would I surely I must know some Zilch's blessing from Valen at this point.
So
Zilchus be
Valen
damned.
often says like "Zilchus be praised" or
Right,
"Zilchus
be praised to be the other one. So yeah, I think I would like put just like a huge paw on this guy's head, this tiny little gnome head, and just be like, Zilchus be praised.
And he says, yes, Zilchus be praised. And all the people are like, Zilchus be praised. And they're like, wait, Gaia, please. As you make your way out, and the gnome is just body blocking for you now as the door slams shut behind you.
And am I still in the church, or is this like an outside door?
So this is that door you tried to escape out of earlier. So
okay.
you're outside in the square, outside of the... and you see, you are actually in the Queen's.
Ooh.
So on the bottom ring of the city.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where you are. So you step out, and I think, you see this big golden pillar, which can be seen all over the Queen's, marking where the Church of Zilchus is.
Right.
And looming beyond that is the huge, it looks abandoned barracks of the Molten Citadel, which is the home of the Molten Watch. Big, like huge walls surrounding it with a drawbridge that extends over a lava moat.
Yeah, I think Bree kind of like looks to that and is like, well, I'm definitely not going into the volcano. Probably like turns over her left, sees a lot of people milling about like the coffers, which I'm assuming is some sort of local bank.
Yeah, big bank, yeah.
And then turns right and sees what appears to be a lush, steamy jungle of the steam baths. And is immediately like, yes, that is where I am going. That is a place that I can lose a bunch of people.
Okay, great. Oh, interesting. Okay. You make your way up to the steam baths. And as you go to the front door, you can see that there's like a porter standing at the front, and they are like watching you come up to the front and are like looking at your robes, and that kind of thing. And then they see your face, and this angry kind of like off-putting expression melts away. And they kind of get this dazed look. And they just look at you and say, "Oh, it's you."
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of that today. And like it like looks back to see like if there's a crowd coming in her direction.
Yeah,
still.
you can see like they are filing out of the church, and people are like frantically looking around in every direction.
I'm just looking to hop inside for a minute and lose the crowd.
Of course. And then he reaches out and looks like he's going to pinch your nose.
I don't think I flinch.
So he
doesn't really seem scary, so.
Yeah, and he pinches your nose and says, "You may enter."
Thank you. And like reaches forward and squeezes his nose, I think, as well, and goes in.
Yeah, and he also doesn't flinch. And you can see like his eyes are barely focusing on you. They're just kind of like wandering.
Yeah. Is he's a human?
A human, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And he's just wearing, these like red, like a red vest and a white shirt under it. Like he looks like a valet kind of.
Valet, okay, yeah.
And as you step inside, he kind of shakes his head, and another group come up with like towels and robes and stuff, looking to go into the steam baths as well. And he just says, "We are under renovations. I'm sorry, no entry." As the doors close behind you.
Uh-oh. Yeah, and like the moment Bree is in quiet, I think she is like taking off these robes and like wrapping the staff. I guess wrapping the robes around the staff to protect it, because she sees that as being like the more valuable piece somehow. And trying to find a way to just like, I guess she's just bundling it under her arm. She wouldn't really have any way to attach it to her body. So
right.
Yeah. And that is probably like looking for a back door, like just trying to cut like across the steam baths, taking in a moment of hopefully steam and jungle. But just like in passing, is literally just trying to use this as like an in and out disappearing act.
Yeah, so it is choked with steam in here. You can barely see 5 feet in front of you. As you're making your way down these like narrow hallways, all the walls are like this very calming teal. The floor is like a nice like hard ceramic tile under your feet, as you just hear your kind of claws clicking on them as you make your way down the hall. And then that clicking is met by another clicking that you start to hear getting louder as you make your way, and you turn a corner, and the fog kind of breaks a little bit as you see this huge circular hot spring, and the center of it is just swirling in a whirlpool. And you can see that there are little shells all around the edges of it that have these blue ethereal flames, which seem to be stirring up the steam into these elementals, which are like dancing around. And standing on the other side of the steam baths, kind of scuttling back and forth and clicking its pinchers, is Pinchy, who is doing this strange dance and seems to be enacting some kind of ritual over the steam baths.
I think this absolutely stops Bree in her tracks, and she's like, "Oh, Pinchy!"
And Pinchy looks over and is like nodding and still dancing and clicking, but it seems happy to see you.
Yeah, and I think it just like completely stops looking for an exit at this point, and is like, "Oh, this is a totally." Thinking like I'm protected by elementals in here, sort of thing, and I think would sit down and kind of like dip her feet into the pool, and be like, "How are you enjoying Mox the Rain?"
And yeah, just like a click, click, and then a spin, and another flame lights up over a shell.
Yeah, and I think Bree would just start recanting the entire morning to Pinchy in detail as like you will not believe craziest thing happened to me this morning.
Just kind of like sinking and relaxing into the steam bath.
Yeah. And then we just probably spend like an hour here recounting the story before she's like, oh, I should really get back to rest of caravan. It is nice seeing you, Pinchy. We will come by again soon, I hope.
And Pinchy clacks in agreement over his head as he continues to dance. I think you might have had an opportunity to, as some of the steam elementals are, as you start to relax, also moving across the surface of the water, and where you can speak primordial, right?
Yeah.
So they would be conversing with you as well.
So I'd love to get an idea from them, just like if there's anything that Pinchy needs.
And they sort of respond, all he needs is time.
Great. Yeah. Then I would say, well, we will definitely be back and come visit again soon. I will bring the others.
And they say, yes, he will be complete in another 6 days.
Grand. Maybe we will come for celebration.
Yes, you very much should.
Yeah, and then I would get up, kind of shake herself off, probably dry herself with this towel on a stick she has now made, and head out the back door and make her way back up to our spooky haunted mansion.
Okay, amazing. Perfect.
That went way better than I thought it was going to go.
You nailed those rolls. I thought that was going to be a full thing of like struggling through like impossible odds.
Yeah.
I didn't
roll below
really
a 15 on those. Only because of the advantage. It would have been under 10 every single time otherwise.
Right.
So I'm really glad I asked for that magic blessing.
Yeah. No, that worked out well.
Yeah. Which has also definitely gotten me a bit of love for Zilchus. Though I also guess I just ate one of Zilchus's priests.
Wonders and Blunders. Ben was played by Mitchell Bradford.
That's gonna be a fun.
Bree was played by Kieran Dyke. Kara was played by Kate Clark. Rowan was played by Andy Woolridge. Star was played by Robert. And Valen was played by Evan Walsh. The world of Fadoon was created by your Dungeon Mom, Mike Farty, and exists in the D&D 5e universe, published by Wizards of the Coast. Episodes of Wonders and Blunders are edited by TV's Adam Clark. Thank you, Adam. We're an independent podcast supported by you, the listener, but we may take on the occasional ad to help cover our operating costs. If you'd like to support the show directly and monetarily, and get access to ad-free episodes and bonus content, head over to patreon.com/wonderandblunder. If you'd like to support the show, but can't spare the cash, that's totally fine. Follow us on social media at Wonder and Blunder, and be sure to rate the show 5 stars on your podcatcher of choice. Thank you for following us on this fantastic journey, and as always, keep being the best. We love you very much, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.